Hello again, and welcome. Michael Pizzolla here. I'd like to welcome you to this edition of the ValueCapping Rant. This is the 2021 Arkansas Derby and Lexington Stakes edition. If you'll be patient with me, I'd like to introduce myself and set out some important points for this video. My name is Michael Pizzolla. I've been writing and teaching about this great game for the last 35 plus years. I am the author of the best-selling handicapping book, Handicapping Magic, co-author of the classic Pace Makes the Race, the creator of the original online racing forum. It's now known as Post Time Daily, and you can find that at posttimedaily.com if you need a good, customizable, easy-to-use past performance. I am the creator of the Black Magic software family, currently known as Black Magic 2.0, called ValueCapper. I've done a course on the principles of value capping, and you can get it for free at ValueCapper.com. Look, even if you're not remotely interested in software for doing your work, the principles of finding value and why that's so important in the modern game, I think will stand you in good stead. Knowing about the framework of looking for value. And again, even I don't care if you're not interested in the software, that's fine with me. But go watch at least the first two videos. I think it will change the way you look at this game. And that framework is to bet horses you like that the public shouldn't. Okay, so we're looking to bet those horses preferably against vulnerable favorites. You must wait for your price and let the bet make you. I've got to tell you that it's remarkable to see the increased number, in my opinion, and what our data shows of winning favorites. I think last week, April 3rd at Aqueduct, other than one race in the middle of the card, which ValueCapper had, it finished 1-2 or 2-1, and the Wood Memorial, where the horse won at 72-1, every other horse, 9 out of the 11 races were won by the favorites. So it takes a lot of patience. And with that in mind, I want to bring out some important points. This is not a touting video. Okay? I'm not a mind reader. I can't see the future. I don't know what will exactly happen in the race. Don't do that. There are plenty of videos, right? Just look right aside this video. You'll see dozens of them. If you want, hey, I like this horse. I don't do that. Rather, I want to demonstrate to you the principles of value capping as I apply it to the Arkansas and the Lexington, and as I do in every race that I look at every day. Second, I'm making this video on Thursday morning before the races. I don't have scratches. I don't have weather changes. So things can change. One horse that's supposed to have an early lead scratches, for example, or doesn't like the slop and the race track comes up sloppy. That can change everything. 3, software, numbers, numerology, whatever you use, they're tools. They're not crystal balls, okay? There isn't anything that I know of that can predict the outcome of the race with absolute 100% certainty. Rather, we can make a projection of what we think should happen in the race, and based on that projection, what are fair odds, and then look for value. Bringing us to the fourth and final point, value investment potentials are price dependent. In other words, if there's no adequate price, there's no bet. But bear in mind, we're not just looking for price. We're looking for value in that it's a horse we like that the public shouldn't, running against, preferably, vulnerable favorites. And then we wait for our adequate price. With all of that said, let's get to the first of the two final Derby preps, the 2021 Arkansas Derby, to be run this Saturday, April 10th, 2021 at Oaklawn. Right out of the box, we open it up on ValueCapper, and we see this. The 2 Caddo River and the 5 Concert Tour stuck on top with a gap over the rest of the field. Oh boy, Michael, what a genius you must be. Well, you know, look, one of the things I'm most proud about about the software that I've developed, both Blackmagic 1 and ValueCapper, is that it doesn't just look for long shots. In other words, it just doesn't start with price and then say, let's see if I can justify it. But it aims to get a mix. In other words, if there are outstanding horses in the race, it should point to those horses. And in the Arkansas Derby, it does. Okay. I think everyone knows that Caddo River and Concert Tour will be bet. Also Hosier, and we'll get to that in a second. But just looking at this, I'm not seeing a real reason to go buy him. Now, Hosier is the fulcrum in the race. I dealt with that at length in the Handicapping Magic book. Basically, it's the horse with the best second call time in its last race that it ran competitively and non-aberrantly. So that's always a troublesome thing when you do all these fancy numbers and that horse doesn't show up. If I were looking, I would say, well, the assessment that I have is that the 2 may be the speed of speed in the race. It's the single pattern in the above random cluster. In other words, contenders, if you will. That means that it has a pattern which indicates it may be coming to a race. Early acupressure, it means it's going to have the lead or projects to have the lead at the first and second calls. As you can see, Caddo River and Concert Tour should go out. The projection is that Caddo River may increase that lead, but there's always a rub, isn't there? If we look at the colt, we see that it wins only when it gets a big lead like that. Now, in its last race in the Rebel, it came out rank, and it also came out in the race and turned up empty. The other thing I notice is that it's got a very big number from its 7 furlong race at Belmont in October. Now, that seems out of line with the rest of its races, but hey, these are improving 3-year-olds. If I take that big number from Belmont out, they're still virtually tied at the top, Concert Tour and Caddo River. Now, Concert Tour, Jiminy. Bob Baffert's got this champion colt. Big surprise. And it's got good numbers. It's run 3 races. One is maiden easily. Won the San Vicente at Santa Anita. Came over to Oaklawn and won the Rebel. This could be a champion. I mean, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But 3 for 3, good numbers, and so forth. Here's the fulcrum that we talked about. And by the way, it can close a little bit, which may not be appropriate in this race because it looks like it may favor one of those early horses. But just in case, Mr. Baffert has that covered because he also has Hosier in the race that can close in case the 5 doesn't get the job done. The other horse in the Ark is Superstock. Closed a little bit in the Rebel last out. Has a very big late fraction against a slow 6 furlong time at 1 mile and 1/16 at Churchill's second back. I just don't see a bet against these 2 horses, Caddo River and Concert Tour. And once again, this goes back to the principles that I talked about at the beginning. This is not about trying to predict the winner because, you'll hear everyone and his brother say, well, these 2 horses are going to be, well, yeah. Okay, so that's a given. Handicapping is where the real work begins, not ends. Okay, where it begins is looking where there might be value. So my assessment of the race, and this is only my opinion, okay, it looks like the public will be betting the strong colts, Concert Tour, and Caddo River, and maybe the Hosier, okay? And while there are positives on the 2, Caddo River, it should be bet by the public. So this, for me, is a very easy pass race. Now, I had someone write me and say, well, in one of the races you mentioned in your email about one of the races last week, I don't even remember which one, the horse It was at the very bottom of your screen and it won. And yeah, but the race was a pass for me. So again, if you're in a predictive mode, thinking that all these wonderful numbers that we have and all the rest are going to predict, then you'd be disappointed. I agree. Hey, we missed the race and maybe we can figure out why, or there was a bad number or whatever. But if you're looking for value, once you make the assessment that there's no value potential in the race, that there's not a potential bet in the race, who cares? I don't. Now, as a fan, I do, yes, because I'm a racing fan. I've been doing this a long time. So I'll be watching these races as a fan, but as a value investor, if you will, I'm not touching the Arkansas Derby. Now, the Lexington Stakes is a little bit of a different situation. Here's how it is right out of the box. It comes up as a highly pressured race. On the velocity side, on the positional side, it's kind of neutral. The 7 Proxy, the heavy morning line favorite, morning line maker, made this horse 6-5 in the morning line, and it's got a gap over the rest of the field. If I'm looking for potential value, I see the 9 and the 1 King Fury, the 9 and the 1 Noble Reflection. And again, that's my first glance at the race. Now I have to assess those, okay? So the first thing that I assess is, rightly or wrongly, fortunately or unfortunately, ValueCapper's assessment of the race is the same as the morning line maker and the public. The contention line is what the public should do in the race. The morning line is the morning line maker's guess about what the public should do in the race. And guess what? The top 2 contention lines, which are also the top 2 morning lines, are also ValueCapper's top 2 horses, Proxy, the 7, and the 2 Swiftsure. Okay, so once again, we have a race that the public will probably get right. I'll look further. This is a highly pressured race. We see that Noble Reflection, the 1, and the 2 Swiftsure should be out early. Maybe It's My House will be running, but that's a horse that, if it gets any pressure, doesn't look like it continues. It tightens up in the second call. You see Noble Reflection projects to have just a smaller lead. Now, let's take a look at those horses in detail. Very interesting about Proxy, in its last 2 races, the Risen Star and the Louisiana Derby, he made nice little closes in the race, which you may say, oh, that's good for this highly pressured race. However, his 2 wins have both been on the lead. Now, I don't know quite what to make of it. Again, he's only got 6 lifetime races. He's won 3 of them. 2 of them, sorry. But those 2 have been on the lead, so I'm a little bit up in the air. Also, I notice its last number, that 158.8, that's a master pace number. Doesn't matter. Any number you look at. I mean, you can look at speed ratings, you can look at everything else. That race, the rating from the Louisiana Derby is very big and much higher than his other races. So did it improve? Is it just a weird number? Is it just the fact that Fairgrounds doesn't run that many races at 1 3/16 miles and all us genius experts have given it too high a number? I don't know. Another interesting thing about Proxy is that in 4 of its 6 lifetime starts, the last 4, hit the gate, bumped at the brake, bumped between, bumped somewhere. And it seems to have trouble at the start for some reason. Not what I would look for in a heavy favorite, right? Let's look at those 2 horses that project that are going to be on or close to the lead. Swiftsure, good news, bad news. Good news is that it's won both of its races. Bad news, maiden, good. Non-winners won, other than, great. Won both of those races going away at 6 furlongs. Can it get the 1 1/16 miles? Don't know. I mean, we can go back and look at its grandfather and great-grandfather and, Speightstown, all those Speightstown horses. Well, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I looked at its percentage early, but it's hard to tell on 2 lifetime races what this horse will do. And the other colt, the other thing is that it's the second choice in the morning line and in contention. Noble Reflection is a little interesting. Just ran a bang-up number last time, as opposed to its first start. And again, this is a maiden winner going into a graded race. Not so optimistic, right? Here's an interesting colt, King Fury, that's been off since November. He did run in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Well, he ran a little bit. The 2 wins that he has lifetime are both at today's distance, or Saturday's distance, of 1 mile and 1/16. Both of them he made closes from kind of close up, but at third position, and then closed to win. That's a good running style for a pressured race, especially one at this level where it's good to be kind of near the lead. I don't know what's, I can excuse the Breeders' Cup Juvenile because, hey, that's a huge $2 million grade 1 race. And the top race at Churchill, the grade 2, who knows what put it in the barn. It's 2 for 5 lifetime. Am I jumping up and down with this? Do I think this is a great closer in a highly pressured race? No, but it has that positive about it. The last one in the above random cluster, or contender, if you will, we see Starting in My Dreams, 2 good races at Churchill to start its career, gets laid off, tries the Risen Star, tries the Louisiana Derby, and boy, those are not great finishes. Yeah, it's got those back numbers. It runs to one of them. It could do something. Again, one of the assessments is on the Louisiana Derby. Don't know what to make of that number. I just know that it looks high. So I'm not very high on that horse. So that's where we are. It's a neutral or highly pressured race. Proxy that, stands over the field, theoretically anyway, if it goes highly pressured, has got the wrong running style. But then the horses that figure to be on the lead and going are the 1 and the 2, Noble Reflection and Swift Shore. The only colt that I see making a little close is the 9 King Fury, and he's been on a layoff and so forth. It's pretty decent at the distance. I took a look at the neutral bias. See, when it comes up highly pressured, it's going to favor the late horses, but you can adjust that. I'm going to say, okay, the pressure is not going to develop, and I'll put it on neutral. And guess what? Swift Shore and Proxy still come up, the 2 morning line favorites. Okay, again, Proxy is a strong morning line favorite, but the interesting thing to me is that the 9 drops out of it. King Fury just drops out. So only if there's pressure will the 9 have, in my opinion, have a shot, and will the 7 be vulnerable? Not a great combination. Noble Reflection still hangs around there, but again, maiden winner, stepping into a graded race. I just don't know. So my assessment, bottom line, is Proxy may be vulnerable if the pressure develops. Will it develop? Don't know. I can't read the jockeys' minds. I can't know if they'll, believe it or not, they read the past performances as well. And if they see there's a lot of pressure developing, maybe they'll try to take a horse back, and other horse will get the lead. That's what the projection shows, that there should be some pressure up front. But I'm not seeing a colt presenting a prime value opportunity. Okay, I may take the 9, King Fury, because of those closes, because he's 2 for 5 at 1 mile and 1/16, and so forth. But I'm not really sky high on it. First of all, it's on a layoff. Now, I'm sure it's being competently trained and worked out and all of that. But still, at a long enough price, 15 to 1, 20 to 1, something in that range, I'll look at it as a big day recreational bet. And yes, I make some of those. This is not a prime value situation. I'm also going to look at this 1 Noble Reflection in the exotics. That should be a very long price. I don't have a lot of optimism about it because I think it's just going to be part of the pressure and the pace. But if it gets a long enough lead, who knows? And again, with these 3-year-old lightly raced colts, really, who knows? So I may use that in the exotics. Again, it's going to have to be a long price. This is strictly a recreational bet. So not a lot of, again, this is why I didn't make a video last week, because the races were obvious, and the race that wasn't so obvious, the Wood, I don't think I ever would have looked at that $146 horse, Bourbonic, okay? What I find, though, is that on these quote-unquote big days, good value opportunities often appear in the undercards. Again, I'm making this on Thursday morning. I don't have all of the past performances. So I just took a quick look at the undercards at both Keeneland and Oaklawn. It's an interesting race, the 5th race at Oaklawn. It's a highly pressured race at 1 mile and a 16th. This is the 5th race at Oaklawn, and this coming Saturday, April 10th. I've got 3 horses, and then a gap, and then another 4 horses that look like they may do it. What interests me is the morning line favorite, the top of the line Impossible Task, the 8, is an early horse in a highly pressured race. I don't like that. The 3, Bandit Point, is 6-1 on the odds line, should be going off at a price according to our contention line and the morning line. And what's more, it's a closer in a highly pressured race. Now, the other horse that's a little interesting to me is the 10 Pickford, and it's the single pattern horse in the race and so forth. So at a long enough price, let's say 12-1, I'll take Bandit Point. If I'm betting it, I'm going to use Pickford in the exotics. But this looks to me like a simple race. I see one potential overlay near the top of the line. If I get my price, I'll take a shot at it. On the Keeneland card, one race just popped out at me, and it's the very first race at Keeneland on that day. And, you know, people maybe get to the track late and get to the book late, and, oh, I'm just going to stay for the big races. And they may be asleep at this point. This is another highly pressured race. There are 4 horses above random, and the top 2 morning line favorites, Artemis City Limits and Get Hammered, are both on layoffs. Not only that, the 4, which one of the morning line favorites, looks like it is going to be the wrong running style. In other words, it's an early horse in a highly pressured race. Second horse on the line, Grove Daddy, is the lone acupressure closer in the race. In other words, according to my projections, or ValueCapper's projections, it looks like it may be the lone closer. It's got really good, see those L's on the right side of the screen, late, and then the 3 has late. Those mean good late fractions. They're the only horses in the above random cluster that are not on layoffs. So I'm interested in this 6 horse, especially when you look that it's the lone closer in the highly pressured race. I'm running against 2 potentially flawed favorites, Artemis City Limits on a layoff with the wrong running, so wrong according to the projection. Okay, again, no crystal ball here, and the 5 on a long layoff. So I'm looking to bet Grove Daddy. I would take it 6 or 7-1. And I will definitely use the 3 in exotics with it. But when you get the rest of the cards, when you look at the rest of the races, do focus on some of these undercards. Because as I said, the big races on Saturday, the Arkansas and the Lexington, which are going to be interesting races to watch and to assess, and what that does to the Derby situation. As a fan, I'll be looking. As a bettor, I'm not so interested. I'd much rather bet a race like this first at Keeneland. So, thank you so much for spending this time with me, allowing me to share my thoughts with you about racing. I wish you nothing but good luck at the races, and I will see you live in a rant very soon, leading up to the Kentucky Derby. So until then, please be well, be healthy, be safe, good luck at the races, wait for your prices, and let the bet make you. I'll see you soon.